UFC Vegas 94 betting and DraftKings show. We have 12 fights this Saturday evening. I'm Jon Kelly. Let's hear the picks. And we're going to get things started in the heavyweight division as Muhammad Usman comes in as a -135 favorite. The comeback on Thomas Peterson is +114. And this was actually the first bet that I made of the card. You know, I typically don't always bet early in the week unless I see the market moving one way. So using the odds screen available at fightnumbers.com, I saw the market moving towards the underdog. So I wanted to get the best price available. That was currently at ESPN Bet at the time at +130. So that's where I placed the bet on Peterson. And the market, as you can see, has certainly shifted a little bit in his favor. And I do agree because I think he could have multiple advantages here. For starters, you know, Usman's never been a guy that I've had a ton of faith in. You know, I kind of just thought he's been riding his brother's coattails. Doesn't necessarily, not that he doesn't belong at the UFC level, but he's not going to really make much noise in the heavyweight division. I thought he was super fortunate, you know, to win his first couple fights in the division as well. He's a guy that just doesn't give himself a lot of ways to win fights. And what I mean by that is he's historically low volume on the feet. You know, outside of the Jake Collier fight, which to me seems like an anomaly because most of his fights, he's very, very patient, doesn't throw a ton of volume. He has to land a big shot and hurt you on the feet, or he has to land takedowns. He's shown he can wrestle a little bit, but he's not very aggressive with it. And in some of those fights, he's basically, you know, just winding up in top position where he's able to just lay on guys for the end of the round. He's not going to look to land ground and pound, and he's certainly not going to look to pass or try to submit you either. So on the flip side, Thomas Peterson is actually a legitimately good wrestler. He's a two-time high school state champion. He wrestled Division I for, I believe, 1 year at North Dakota State University, which is Division I, and then I think again at junior college or some sort of community college. But the dude's wrestling is very good for the heavyweight division. Now, the issue with Peterson is that if he can't get his wrestling going, he kind of doesn't really have much of a backup plan, and his gas tank is not very good either. But I do expect him to be the more active fighter on the feet. You know, he's going to be working with a 5-inch reach disadvantage because he's got kind of those little T-Rex arms, but he's going to be the one more active on the feet. So because of the forward pressure, the activity on the feet, and because I expect him to be the better wrestler and to land takedowns here, the difference is when Usman's in top position, he's just looking to lay on you and pass time. When Peterson's in top position, he's landing ground and pound, he's looking to finish the fight or potentially submit you as well, as we saw on the Contender Series. So I'm going to side with the underdog here. I think he's got multiple ways where he could end up looking like a favorite in this matchup. We're going Peterson by TKO. That's the official pick. And next fight up, we have Luana Carolina, a -115 favorite with Lucy Pudilova on the comeback at -105. So it's basically a coin flip fight, and that's kind of what I expect out of these two fighters, because on one hand, we have Luana Carolina, who's got a couple-inch reach advantage here. She's the more active striker on the feet, but she's very one-dimensional. We know that she struggles. If you can take her down, you can control her, you could potentially submit her as well. So that's certainly a concern when she's fighting someone like Pudilova that has shown improvements in her wrestling game. We've seen that since her return to the UFC, but Pudilova also has issues with her defensive grappling. She also has issues with her striking defense on the feet. She's very hittable as well. And I just feel like people might be putting too much stock in her ability to wrestle. I still don't rate her as this, you know, D1 stud wrestling prospect by any stretch. Not that you have to be to take down Luana Carolina, but Carolina has shown that she has at least improved her takedown defense, certainly over the course of her career, but specifically in her last few fights. You know, she had multiple matchups where she was priced as an underdog, where people expected her opponents to just take her down and grapple her at will. And it just didn't really happen all that much. Against Lupe Godinez, she stuffed a lot of those takedowns. Against Ivana Petrovic, who's primarily a grappler and wrestler who didn't have a ton of grappling success there. And then again, in her last fight against Julia Stoliarenko, who's more of a sub or bust type of fighter, but again, was unable to have that grappling success. So I just don't know if Pudilova is that much better than these other fighters in terms of the wrestling. And I think there could be a little bit of overrating it just because she came on strong in her last fight against a gassed out Eileen Perez. So this is one where I think it's pretty much a coin flip. I feel like people are going to side on Pudilova, and I'm just less convinced that she's going to have that grappling success. So I'm going to say Carolina. She gets it done by decision, but there's better fights to target up and down the card this weekend. And next fight up, we have Loic Radzhabov, a -125 favorite. The comeback on Trey Ogden is +105. And this one is interesting because on one hand, we have Radzhabov, who's definitely more of a kill or be killed style of fighter. He's an aggressive finisher. He comes out hot in the first round and swings with big power. He's also got an opportunistic submission game as well that you'll have to be mindful of. And Trey Ogden has been submitted multiple times in his career. Now, Ogden on the feet, he's not nearly as powerful as Radzhabov. It's mostly just, harmless kicking game. His striking has gotten a little bit better, but he's not really a huge threat on the feet. Now, where Ogden is better, I think, is with his fight IQ and his wrestling, because he's a guy who averages a couple takedowns per 15 minutes. He can land takedowns here, especially if Radzhabov gets tired, and Ogden could just ride it out as the fight goes on, bank rounds 2 and round 3 if Radzhabov's gas tank doesn't hold up. But in terms of DraftKings, we're looking for that upside, and I just think it's clearly on the Radzhabov side. So even though I think Ogden winning a decision is the more likely outcome, and that is going to be the official pick, in terms of DraftKings, I can see myself having more exposure to the guy with the finishing potential, in my opinion, and that's on the Radzhabov side. Which brings us to our next matchup in the women's flyweight division, as Miranda Maverick is a -205 favorite. The comeback on Dione Barbosa is +170, and I really wanted to take Barbosa here. I wanted to bet her. If she has shown that she can keep up her pace for 15 minutes, or even like 10-ish minutes, I'd be a little bit more comfortable backing her here. But honestly, I think the cardio is the main concern for me, because outside of that, she should have some advantages here. She comes from an Olympic level judo background. She holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and her striking honestly is not that bad either. She seems to be, out of these two, she seems to hold more power in her punches and sharper leg kicks as well. Now, Miranda Maverick, why I am still picking her in this matchup, and granted, I've never been a Maverick backer. I think she fails to separate and win rounds, so I do not like seeing her as a sizable favorite here. But she does stay sharp defensively. I expect her to be competitive on the feet, if not winning as the fight goes on and Barbosa starts to slow. The concern with Maverick is that even though she can have grappling success of her own, she averages over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, a lot of that came against fighters that can't defend takedowns and can't really threaten with submissions. And on the flip side, she's been taken down and put on bottom and has not looked that great at times either. So this is certainly one where I think the underdog is live, but I think if it's 1-1 going into round 3, I trust Maverick to just do a little bit more in round 3 to get her hand raised, because I do expect her to have the cardio edge. So that's why I'm going to side with her. But in terms of DraftKings, I prefer Barbosa, but honestly, I just think there's better fights to target up and down the card. We're going Maverick by decision. That's the official pick. Next fight up, we have Cody Gibson, a -225 favorite. The comeback on Brian Kelleher is +185. And we'll start on the Cody Gibson side. He's 0-2 since returning to the UFC. He had the nonstop action war against Brad Katona on the Ultimate Fighter season finale. And then he followed that up with the loss by decision to Miles John, which was kind of uninspiring. But Gibson is a well-rounded guy. He can put a pace on people on the feet. He's also shown in previous fights that he can mix in the wrestling as well. But he's had knee issues throughout his career, and he turns 37 years old in just a couple of months. And the last thing I'll say about Gibson is that he has been submitted 4 times in his career. 3 of them specifically came by guillotine choke. And that's interesting for this matchup, because who's he fighting? Brian Guillotine Kelleher. This dude has a patented guillotine, 7 career wins by guillotine submission alone, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I know nobody's going to want to play Kelleher this week. I get it. He's on certainly on a downtrend, been finished in his last few fights, but he's been facing some really stiff competition in that span, and he still has that nice guillotine choke. He still has some good counter boxing on the feet as well, but he can give up takedowns. He will sell out for the guillotine, and if it doesn't materialize, similar to Cody Brundage, who we saw fight last week, didn't pull guillotine because he didn't have time before he ended up quitting. But reason why I bring that up is those type of guys that will jump guillotine, when it doesn't finish, they just wind up on bottom, giving up control time, giving up minutes. And that's what I think could happen here. I think Kelleher's super live to pull off that early guillotine submission, but if he doesn't, I think Gibson's able to control him on the mat, pace him with volume on the feet down the stretch. So we're going Cody Gibson by decision as the official pick, but he's $9,300 on DraftKings. That's the most expensive fighter on the slate, and I just don't know if I'm going to be getting up to him all that often this week. Using Fight Pick Sim on Fight Numbers, it's a custom tool made by Nate Latshaw, and it's only available at fightnumbers.com. As you can see, using the picks in my article, we can simulate the slate 10,000 times, and the Sims do not like Cody Gibson based on the picks in my article. Now, of course, you can swap out those picks however you want, run it as many times as you want, but I'm just saying I have a feeling the Sims are not going to like Cody Gibson much this week, especially if you think he wins by decision. That's going to be something that we dive into more on the DraftKings Deep Dive show for Fight Numbers subscribers on Thursday evening. But for now, I'm just going to let you guys know I think Gibson probably wins, but I'm going to be overweight on the leverage side, and that's Brian Kelleher, and hope that he pulls off that guillotine early. Next up, we have Jingyong Lee, a -205 favorite with the comeback on Haider Emil at +170. And this is one that I feel like is not going to be a popular underdog look, but I think Emil is very live in this spot, particularly if the fight starts to get extended, which makes him a better live betting spot. You know, definitely use the odds screen at Fight Numbers to identify the best price if he drops that first round, and then hop in on Emil live. I think that's going to be a good look this weekend, because you look up and down Haider Emil's career, he's not a very technical guy, but one thing that he does is he's got great cardio, and he just non-stops pushes forward. You know, I relate him to a Jasmine Jasudavicius, you know, not super technical on the feet, but just zombies their way forward and forces you into those clinch and grappling exchanges. Now, Jingyong Lee is a very good striker, 4 wins by knockout. He hurt Blake Builder multiple times, should have had a finish if not for Mark Smith in that spot. But outside of him knocking out Haider Emil early, he also has shown he can be held up against the fence. He has issues with giving up takedowns, defensively grappling, and Haider Emil is just a dog on a bone. If this fight gets extended, Emil is just going to keep zombieing forward, holding him up against the fence, peeling him to the ground, staying active as well. So it's one where I think Lee's live to hurt him early, but if that doesn't happen, I like Emil to take over as the fight gets extended. We're going Haider Emil by decision. That's the official pick. Which brings us to our featured bout on the prelims, as Bill Algeo comes in as a -166 favorite. The comeback on Doo-Ho Choi is +140. And I favor the Choi side in here specifically for his power. This dude packs a very big punch. 11 of his 14 wins have come by knockout. He came back off a 2-year military commitment and fought Kyle Nelson. He should have won in that spot, but had the point deduction. And Dana White said after, he shouldn't have been deducted a point for the head clash there, paid him his win bonus. So he won the fight in my book against Kyle Nelson. And now he's facing somebody in Bill Algeo who's coming off a knockout loss. Yes, it was kind of an odd stoppage a little bit. You know, he was certainly hurt, certainly rocked, but didn't get knocked down and wasn't knocked out yet before the fight was called. Probably just a matter of time, but he did take a ton of damage. And that's something that Bill Algeo's no stranger to, because he fights with his hands down. He stays very active on the feet, but he's reckless. You know, his fight IQ's not the greatest. He holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he doesn't really go to the grappling all that often. And on the feet, like I said, he can be hit clean because he has that herky-jerky Brandon Royval fight with your hands down style, which usually means you're not playing much defense. And if that's the case against Doo-Ho Choi, who's kind of a sniper on the feet with big power, and you're coming off a knockout loss where you took a lot of damage as well, I'm going to side with the power in Doo-Ho Choi, and I think he gets his hand raised. We're going Choi by TKO. That's the official pick. And kicking off the main card, we have Cody Durden, a -122 favorite with Bruno Silva on the comeback at +102. And this is a really fun matchup kicking off the main card because Cody Durden, you know, he brings that aggressive wrestling pace, averages over 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. We know he's going to bring that wrestling to the table. His striking's not bad either. His boxing's okay. He can mix in some leg kicks as well. On the flip side, Bruno Silva, he's coming off, a kind of a sizable layoff. It's been about 15, 16 months since we last saw him submit Tyson Nam. He's currently on a 3-fight winning streak. He finished all 3 of those inside the distance, and he landed a knockdown in each of those. This dude swings with big power. He's very short and compact. Some would say he's a short king. But he swings with big power, and he's got an aggressive submission game as well. He averages over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes himself. So he's a pretty well-rounded guy. Definitely give him pretty much all the finishing upside in this spot. But in terms of who's the better round winner outside of those big moments, I gotta lean with Cody Durden here because I think he's the better wrestler. I expect him to land takedowns more often than Bruno Silva in this spot. And on the feet, I expect it to be competitive if Silva is unable to have those big moments. So this is one where I think it's minutes versus moments. Durden is the minute guy, and I'm just going to slightly favor him in terms of the pick. But on DraftKings, I think they're both good fighters to target because Durden has shown he can land multiple takedowns, put up a good score, even in a decision win. And like I said, I think Silva has pretty much all the finishing equity. So I'm going to target both sides. The official pick is Cody Durden by decision. And next up, we have Kenan Krzyzewski, a -130 favorite with Kurt Holobaugh on the comeback at +110. And this is another good fight to target on DraftKings because on one hand, we have Krzyzewski, who's been training with the Fighting Nerds. He's shown that he can land takedowns across the regional scene, although most of those were like kind of those trip takedowns in the clinch. But Holobaugh doesn't really defend takedowns. He defends takedowns at under 50% in the UFC. We just saw Trey Ogden basically lay on him for 15 minutes. So that's certainly the path to victory for Krzyzewski. But on the feet, Krzyzewski's very hittable. He doesn't seem like he has much durability. He's been knocked out in the first round twice in his career. He was also briefly hurt in that Contender Series fight before getting that first round submission as well. So I don't trust his durability really at all. And Kurt Holobaugh is very powerful. 17 of his 20 wins have come inside the distance. I think it's either Holobaugh hurts him on the feet or Krzyzewski just has that grappling success and ends up, getting his hand raised that way. I think in both scenarios, the winner's going to score pretty well here. I'm going to lean with Holobaugh just because I trust his durability more, even at 38 years old. But we're going Holobaugh by TKO. I'm going to target this fight heavily on both sides for DraftKings purposes. We started off the card with, a couple fights that I didn't really love in terms of DraftKings. And now we've got multiple here in a row that I think are great fights to target on DraftKings. And this is another one of them with Steve Garcia. He's a -142 favorite. The comeback on Sung Woo Choi is +120. And we know exactly what these guys bring to the table. Steve Garcia is a very powerful hitter. This dude hits like a truck. The only thing is that's all he pretty much can bring to the table. He doesn't have much in terms of his defensive grappling whatsoever. Can't really defend takedowns all that well, in my opinion. And I just don't really even trust his durability because even in the fights where he's knocking people out, he's getting stunned. He's getting hurt at times as well. Now, on the flip side, Sung Woo Choi, I think, is clearly the more well-rounded, clearly the more technical fighter of the two. But as you guys know, that doesn't always mean that you're going to win fights. And Sung Woo Choi's biggest liability is that durability because he just goes to war with guys and just leaves himself wide open to being countered. And that's why we see him get hurt so often. He's been knocked out multiple times in his career now, and he's been hurt even in fights that he ends up winning, similar to Steve Garcia. So this is going to be one where I expect both guys to meet in the middle, and somebody's going to drop and go to sleep. So I can see it going either way. It's pretty much a coin flip to me. I'm going to slightly side with Steve Garcia just because I think I trust his durability a little bit more. But honestly, it's really just a coin flip fight. I'm probably just going to hedge it down the middle. We'll say Garcia by TKO. That's the official pick. After, 3 fights in a row that I think we really want to target, this is one where I think you can get away from because despite Park being a pretty solid DraftKings scorer, it usually is because he's able to land multiple takedowns and keep up that pace along with mixing in the wrestling. I don't really think he's going to be able to do that here against Brad Tavares, despite being on the back end of his career at nearly 38 years old, losing 3 of his last 4 fights. Tavares has always had really solid takedown defense. I don't trust his durability. He's been knocked out like 5 times in his career, but on the flip side, Jung Young Park, not really a big hitter. This guy has a solid jab. He can mix in some leg kicks occasionally, but it's usually the wrestling and just outpacing guys. He's not a guy that's really going to put your lights out, so to speak, on the feet. So in that aspect, I think Tavares can stuff the takedowns, keep the fight up on the feet. And if that happens here, I expect it to be a competitive, somewhat low volume kickboxing match. And we know that's just not going to score well. It's not going to do enough on a 12 fight slate on DraftKings. So it's one where I'm going to slightly favor the younger guy who I think has better cardio and durability in Jung Young Park. But I think I'm probably just going to be getting away from both of these fighters on DraftKings. We'll say it's Park by decision. That's the official pick. Which brings us to our main event this weekend. We have Virna Jandiroba, a minus 135 favorite with Amanda Lemos on the comeback at plus 114. And I don't need to spend a ton of time on this because I think it's very simple to break down. On one hand, we have Jandiroba, who's a very good grappler. Most of her wins have come by submission. She's capable of landing takedowns as well. And if she's able to do that against Amanda Lemos, who we've seen get taken down multiple times, get controlled, and even submitted before as well, if she's able to do that, then sure, she's going to cruise in this spot. Now, on the flip side, and why I'm picking Amanda Lemos and interested in the underdog here for DraftKings is because Amanda Lemos, literally all she has to do is just not get taken down here, because on the feet, she has a massive striking advantage. She has a massive power advantage. For my money, she's still one of the biggest hitters in the division. And Virna Jandiroba, we know she's not really much of a striker. She has some solid leg kicks, but that's basically it. And she can be hit. She's very hittable on the feet. And we know her cardio is not all that great either, even in 3-round fights. So if Lemos is able to just keep the fight on the feet long enough to land one of her big shots, then I think she's certainly live to hurt Jandiroba and potentially get her out of there. So it's one that I think I see the case for both sides. I'm going to target both sides, but I'm definitely leaning towards the underdog in Amanda Lemos. We're going Lemos by TKO. That's the official pick. And as always, guys, fightnumbers.com will have my DraftKings player rankings. It'll have my ownership projections as well. A ton of other stuff. I mentioned the live odds screen that updates during the event, helping you get the best price possible, both pre-fight and during the event. We also have picks by Pepe, Evan, and Ozzy, a ton of other content, some new tools coming out as well, along with what we've already got up there with Fight Pick Sim and some of the other line shopping tools that we provide. Be sure to check it out, guys. And as always, best of luck, and we'll see you guys next week.